It's the Your Pet Detective Show with Ardina Stewart and Angel Nieves, live stream from New York.
That's right. Like I better sit up so you don't think that I'm sort of declining here in my seat. So,
I'm just trying to take care of my hairdo there.
I tell you, technology is great, but there are always these issues. The seat behind me is tearing. This is Buddha here trying to find herself a proper seat. Angel's hair is coming out. Not it's coming out, but it's coming out because of that. But anyway.
I'll probably start wearing a cowboy hat or something here.
Right. Long story. But we are live from the Bronx. We are being recorded, and our guest is not in the Bronx. Our guest is calling in or is going to show from Texas, from San Antonio. But tonight we're going to talk about animal rescue. I know we talk about animal rescue a lot, but every animal rescue group is different, not only because of the regions, but also because of the animals that are involved, the procedures, and the needs of the animal rescuers. So her name is Preey Grace. She's from the Texas Rescue Group, and Angel has videotape. So Angel, let's roll that tape. And there you have it.
Before we start, I don't know where I got that last name from. If you'll notice, the last name did not say Grace. It's like I don't know, Anastasia or something came out like that. So I'm looking at it. So where that name came from? Sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. Grace is my dog.
Well, it's still a beautiful name. So we're going to cut right to the chase here.
Wow. So I was good there?
Grace is my pit bull. Because that's my I have like a rescue Facebook account, so it's Preey Grace. But my actual name is Alestas. My last name is Alestas. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My married name.
Well, it's a beautiful name, and you're doing beautiful things, caring
Thank
for the abandoned, lost, abused dogs and pets in San Antonio. And you have more than dogs, correct? I saw pigs on the website. I saw cats on the website. I saw a variety of animals on the website. Now, what percentage are dogs? What percentage are not dogs?
As far as roaming animals, or
as far as rescue is concerned?
Well, we actually don't intake any animals. Texas Rescue Network actually focuses solely on prevention through education and helping with resources, access to spay and neuter, things like that. But as far as San Antonio itself, they estimate there's about 90,000, I think is a conservative estimate, of roaming dogs, and then about triple that when it comes to cats. So
basically what you are, is it correct to say that you are an information agency?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, I would say so. We fill a lot of gaps just because there's so many gaps and needs that need to be met within the rescue community here. A lot of people are just, pulling them off the streets and stuff, but we're trying to kind of take an upstream approach and stop so many dogs from being put on the street in the first place. A lot of dogs get displaced because of owner hardship or maybe lack of education, things like that. So there's a lot of work to be done for sure.
Okay, so on a day-to-day basis, yes, there
Mm-hmm.
are a number of abandoned, we'll say dogs in
Mm-hmm.
the San Antonio area. So specifically, what does your group do on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, really every day a little bit different for us. So, like I was telling Angel, this month we have photos for fosters. That's actually something we do every month. And it's where we help rescues get their dogs adopted because a lot of people have dogs that have been sitting in foster care. There we go. Yeah, a lot of people have dogs that have been sitting in foster care for maybe a year or so, sometimes even more. And they just need some really great photos to help them get noticed by their adopter. So that's one of the things we do. Another big thing that we do is we do education in schools. So we primarily work with like grade school, and we go in and we kind of talk to them about like the problems within our community, how they can help some of the problems that they are seeing, and we come up with solutions together. And then we also provide some like toys and kind of more interactive things that they can do with their pets at home. We also provide the resources that are available if they are low income. They can get, free access to spay and neuter, for example. So just trying to create awareness about the existing programs as well.
So it's kind of a public relations agency for dog rescue. More or less.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it's. I'm just trying to get a grasp on it.
It's confusing.
But that's why we have this show, because it's to sort out the facts so that people
Right.
are aware. So I did notice something very interesting on your website, and it was a database of where people could rent apartments with. It's wrong to say bad breeds, but that isn't my characterization. But a lot of times it's what
Restricted.
yeah, restricted breeds. That's the better term. So if somebody has a pit bull and they want to rent out an apartment, I know particularly in New York City that landlords frown upon it. So you list a database of apartments that will accept restricted breeds, correct?
Right. So we actually list the database. It's called My Pitbull is Family. I think that's what you're referring to. So that's just one of the many like resources that we have on our website that people can utilize. But it's basically, apartments that are friendlier to restricted breeds and don't require like a huge pet rent or, things like that. So, but that is a big problem as to why people are disowning their pets is because they can't take them when they move.
But is there a law that shows discrimination against a particular breed? How legal is the ban on restricted breed dogs in apartment rental?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I know that there are some fine lines as far as renting goes and what the landlord is legally able to do and able to not do. I know, for example, more recently, someone was saying, my landlord is telling me I have to get my cat declawed.
Yeah.
And that, for example, is not something that your landlord is able to technically do. And as far as restricted breeds go, the law tends to take the side of the landlord in Texas because, the restricted breeds are restricted, they would say, for a reason. So.
Now, is that database across the boards? In other words, can people find places where they can have rabbits, where they can have ferrets? I know that New York City has a kind of quirky laws about ferrets and other pets.
I mean, it's more specific to dogs, but I would say that if those landlords are known to be more lenient, that's more so, where you'd have better luck than just your typical run-of-the-mill landlord.
What about lost pets? Is that also listed on your on your website?
We don't list lost pets, but for lost pets, we recommend using a database called Paw Boost.
Right.
You two are probably familiar with Paw Boost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few. There's also like the Petco Love has one. There's a few different ones.
What is your program like? You said that you educate children in schools about pets. So do you have do you educate children about pet abuse? in the schools? And if so, then what is that program like?
Right. So that's a good question. So we actually allow the students to more steer the conversation. So we open it up with, what are the problems that you see in your community? And the students, and we will kind of create a list together, and then we'll kind of tackle that list together and come up with solutions. So, pet abuse is definitely something that can come up. And, we can talk, again, the solution is going to look different depending on the group that we're with. So they might say, maybe the owner needs to seek, mental health assistance, or maybe they need to learn how to train their dog in a nicer way. It's just, like I said, every session is different. But we actually are in the middle of partnering up with a vet tech college. So they'll be doing their hours with us for their volunteer hours. So they'll be our educators.
Do you work with animal rights groups when you have to advocate in court to have an abusive pet owner punished rather?
So we actually don't do advocacy from like a legally what you would consider advocacy, which is, like lobbying and things like that. We don't really do too much in the courts, but we're in full support of like there's Texas Humane Legislative Network, and they've come out with a lot of really cool things. They're up in Austin. So, for example, they came out with like the Safe Outdoor Dogs Act, which has been awesome, basically prohibiting chains and not protecting dogs from inclement weather in Texas and stuff like that. They do a really amazing job with that. But as far as like civil cases and stuff like that, we don't really get involved. I mean, I will on a personal I will personally maybe sometimes step in and help with what I can, but as an organization, we don't.
What about spay neuter programs? How I know they have barely enough in New York, and
Yeah.
My understanding is that dogs are just allowed to breed in Texas, which is part of the problem.
Yeah.
A bigger state geographically, and dogs just seem people appear to frankly to be less responsible. So how do you advocate for spay neuter programs, and how many spay neuter programs do you have in San Antonio?
That's a good question. So off the top of my head, I believe we have about 4 or 5 different low cost, free spay and neuter programs going right now. We definitely need more, and it's definitely difficult. So on the state level, they can't mandate spay and neuter, but we do have local ordinances that mandate spay and neuter, like if your dog is caught roaming or being a nuisance or it's aggressive, things like that, then they will say that you need to spay or neuter your dog. Unfortunately, mandates are a little bit different from enforcement. There's sometimes a little bit of a disconnect there. But it's a service a lot of people know is necessary or know that they should get. It usually comes down to availability. I know we're experiencing like a nationwide vet shortage right now. It also comes down to, the price point. Obviously, San Antonio is definitely like a lower income, city as a whole. And, when you're getting quoted $700 to spay your dog, you're probably going to choose your bills over that for a while. So there's a lot of different barriers that we have. But it's gotten to the point where it's such a problem. Like there's just dogs getting pregnant everywhere. I've delivered a few puppies myself and everything like that. So it's gotten to the point where something really seriously needs to be done.
Why do you think the rate of abandonment is so high in San Antonio? I know you talked about a lower income population, but is it due to lack of education? Is it due to income? Is it due to just insensitivity to the problem? I know I've thrown a lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
Why are there so many abandoned dogs in the area that you are in now?
So there are a lot of answers to that question. I don't think any one abandonment issue, well, there's a few different reasons, I should say, a few main reasons. So low income for sure, lack of education for sure. A big issue that we're seeing now is that the shelters and the rescues are really, really full. Fosters are full. I was telling Angel that it's not uncommon here for people to have double digits of animals in their home. So, there's people that have 20 fosters in their home, and it's
wait, slow.
20.
How?
Yeah. Yeah. They have mamas and pups in their bathrooms and like dogs in their garage. It's bad.
How is that even legal?
It's not legal. So in Texas, or in San Antonio, you have a 5-pet limit. So you need to get a permit to have excess pets. But of course, a lot of people don't do it. But what I was getting to is that when, people do, need to surrender their dogs, there are situations in life where people have no choice. Say they're facing homelessness, domestic abuse, whatever it is. There are situations where people do need to surrender their pets. And unfortunately, with how full the shelters are, ACS says, hey, in 3 months, we can take your dog. That's our shelter here, our city's shelter. People just don't have the option. And sometimes they just have no choice, but they feel to dump their dog, and they don't have the connections with rescues in other states, or, you know what I mean? Some people just don't have any other option, is the way that they see it. And then just to add really quick to the idea of people having 20 dogs in their home, some of those cases start out with good intentions and they turn into hoarding situations where they get in over their head. But, a lot of times it takes a while for ACS to even get to those cases because, like I was telling Angel before, they can't even get to all of the critical bite cases in the city. And they have one of the largest, enforcement teams of a big city. So that just kind of gives you an idea of there's so many cruelty, neglect, hoarding, so many things that are just getting overlooked because they just can't physically get to everything.
Well,
but also over there, what is meant as a dog? Is a property?
It's property. Yeah.
So if they take the dog and then leave him run outside, and I mean that's it's not abandonment, but what they do is like cats. They let them roam around the neighborhood, and then don't worry, he'll come back home again.
Yeah, that's very common here.
In which they become wolf packs, and they actually could become a little bit aggressive because there's no socializing with animals and people, and that's where you really get the problem. Because I mean, I'm looking at this, and it reminds me back in the 70s when I was a cop in New York City, when they had abandoned dogs in abandoned buildings. You see these little red eyes looking at you. It's like one of those horror movies, And but the way they did it here to stop it, I don't agree with it at all. It was like a massacre, the way they did it, and that's scary because that has to do with whatever admin or politician they're in. They say we have to clean up, and people say, "What happened to this dog?" Well, it's gone. They just made it disappear. And I hope it doesn't happen over there where you're at. But something has to be done. God forbid there's rabies.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a scary thought for sure. And we do have packs of dogs. Certain parts of town are definitely worse, but people will complain about not being able to walk their dogs in their own neighborhood, not being able to walk on their own street. We had a fatality earlier last year, a man that was mauled by 3 pit bulls. Yeah, we have a lot of incidents where people are getting attacked and hurt, and it's just insane.
I even saw a video in a car dealership. These packs of dogs went in there and they vandalized everything. They destroyed $350,000 worth of property.
That was in San Antonio?
Yeah. They just
Yeah, I
destroyed
believe
it.
it.
I'm looking at the video and said, wow, they're pulling out the bumpers and everything like here in New York, but with people,
But
Yeah.
how is that allowed to proliferate? Why aren't there more? I mean, why isn't there a public outcry? I know this is a lot to ask, but
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there any semblance of enforcement? Because to Angel's
Yeah.
point, this doesn't seem to be something that's under control.
Yeah.
This seems to be something that's just expanding more and more and more and more. It's only going to get worse before it gets better.
Right. Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. It's very out of control. We have, there's a small rescue community. I say it's small. It's small in comparison to the city that we live in, but it's big, and, to think that there's like hundreds of people that still are involved in care and will foster and things like that. And I mean, we've done protests, we've written to the mayor, we've spoken in front of city council, we've done all of these things. But, and I told Angel this previously when we were talking, that, our city council is largely from San Antonio. This is how they grew up. They don't see this really being
Yep.
that, insane. And like, I had a councilwoman tell me just the other day, she says, other states don't have this problem. I didn't know that. So her solution was to send dogs up north. But up north, I mean, like, we send thousands of dogs up north every single year. We send them to New York, we send them to the East Coast, and your shelters are getting full of our dogs. So, and we're bringing disease and everything else. So it's not a long-term solution.
They should put it in the politician's backyard too.
Well, do
Yeah.
you,
Find out, to know how it is.
are your shelters kill shelters? God forbid, are they?
Yes, there are. They are. Yeah, so we have, our main city shelter kills about, I think we're about like 5,000 dogs a year. And our live release at one point was 90%. We're down in the 80s right now. I think shelters across the US, though, are, their numbers are down. It's just, post-COVID and everything has been challenging.
Is there any way to export these dogs to areas that need them? Because
We do.
great
Yeah,
food.
we do. We do, but it just doesn't really put a dent in the problem, because like, I have a friend who transports 4,000 dogs every single year,
Wow.
and she's just one person. I mean, she has a small transport business, but she's just one person. And, backyard breeders are still breeding, and things are still happening, and we just can't get them out quick enough to even make a dent.
Okay,
Well, the
so,
thing is,
I'm sorry,
the
go
thing is,
ahead.
these dogs. I mean, if it's out of control breeding, you'll never
Mm-hmm.
solve the problem. Because
Yeah.
each dog gives like probably like 6, 7, 8 pups, and they probably do it like 2, 3 times maybe a year because it's out of
Mm-hmm.
control. Just one dog alone, you probably get like 20 pups in a year. Just imagine
Mm-hmm.
1,000 dogs doing the same thing. You do the math.
Yeah, or 100,000.
That's what I'm saying. It's out of control. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing with the cats. But it's like you got your hands full over there. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, we're not the only southern state that's sending them up north either. We're competing with Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, all those things. Like,
yeah. But that's
it's
because of the people the way they are. To have to like
yeah.
in their country or old school, they come out, they say a dog belongs outside. What's the name of your dog?
Hmm.
Dog. Don't even give a name to
Hmm.
the dog, and
Right.
they come out with the stupidity, just throw food on the floor, let them eat. And
Yeah.
then what happens is like you said, it's out of control. I mean, I don't want to bring into politics and that and law enforcement, but they're the only ones who could change this.
Yeah.
If you keep your
Hmm.
dog outside, boom, you get a summons. If you have your dog walking by itself outside and we find the dog, we'll take it. If you come and claim it, you're going to give you a summons. If you hit the people
Yeah.
in the pocket, they're going to start saying, I can't do this. I have to keep this dog in here. I have to do
Yeah.
this, do that.
That's something that I don't understand, because we dismiss so many cases here, like our courts do, our municipal court system. Just, there's so many repeat offenders, cruelty cases, and they just let them go. So, they actually told our animal care officers to start writing less citations.
It's,
Yeah.
this
So
is
it starts from home. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
starts by them.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah. Yeah, so after the man was mauled and killed, there was all this, backlash because the owner of those three pit bulls that killed him was somebody that, ACS had been in contact several times about violations and things like that. And there was a big outcry, like, why did, nothing happen? This could have been prevented. But here we are, 6 months later, and we're still doing the same thing. So,
Well, we are winding down to the end of the show, but I'd like to throw out a few suggestions before we go. If there's
sure.
anybody out there who's listening who feels that they would be willing to transport a dog from that wants to be adopted, that needs to be adopted from San Antonio to other parts of the country. You could be somebody who's just passing through. You could be a trucker. You could be somebody who just is a good Samaritan who has a heart. And there may be somebody in your neighborhood, in your town, in your state who wants to adopt one of these dogs. You want to reach out to Preey. Preey, you have a website and a phone number that people could call, could contact you, who will raise their hand and say, yes, I'm willing to volunteer. I'm willing to transport that dog out of Texas, out of harm's way, into a good, loving family, or even a veterinarian who wants to join the team to help out, to tend to the dogs. Because as Priya said earlier, there is a shortage of veterinarians. Any way that people can help to alleviate the situation, to help these animals and to help Texas Rescue. So, Angel, you have the final word on this.
Well, this is her website here, TexasRescueNetwork.org, right, Priya?
Hmm. Yep, that's correct.
So is there a number they call or they go there? How that works?
They can go there and send us an email. Our email is info@texasrescuenetwork.org. So,
Okay. And as Angel always concludes with spay and neuter, I'm going to throw in my 2 cents here before we go. And it's adopt. Don't buy from a breeding mill. And if you can avoid buying from a pet shop, adopt, because there are plenty of dogs out there that organizations like Priya has that need homes. I mean, they're old dogs, they're young dogs, they are puppies, they are dogs in need, they are the dogs that can be made into therapy dogs, but they're dogs available that will not cost a lot of money. So
But
that's my 2 cents. This guy
let
also
me,
has his 2 cents.
let me ask you one thing, Priya. Do they have
yeah.
TNR over there? Do they do TNR?
Not for dogs. Huh?
I mean, they should for the dogs. I mean, that's
Yeah,
one
it's
way
something that we've talked about.
I mean, you'd be
Yeah.
stopping thousands and thousands of dogs getting pregnant.
Yeah. So that's one of the issues that we have in Texas is because dogs are property and so many are owned dogs that are roaming. You could get into a lot of, deep legal trouble if you were to spay or neuter someone's own dog that was roaming. So
But it was
it's
picked up.
fun.
But it was picked up by the shelter, and they do a TNR on the dog.
They can't.
Well, in New York, they
The
could.
shelter, well, okay, so the shelter, I should rephrase that. They can, but it needs to go through a 3-day straight hold first for the owner to reclaim it. But they can't treat, like if they know it's an owned dog, they cannot treat it.
Oh yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah, they articulate. But
Yeah.
okay. So but they do need TNR over there, and they
Yeah.
do need to do something with these dogs. And the people who has the dogs roaming outside the street on their own, well, then the city has to take the responsibility since the owner is not, and do it themselves. And there should be a law on that for the people who owns pets. They have to be owners. They have to be responsible. That's why they have a pet. So anyway, people, please watch our show. I'm still thinking about so many dogs out there. But gives me like
I know.
PTSD when I was a cop, seeing all those dogs.
Yeah.
But people, please spay neuter your pets, and please watch our show. Subscribe. Go to our group channel, our group Facebook page. We have a lot of information there. And please go to help out Preey, help out San Antonio, and because it's really out of control with the animals. God forbid there's some kind of a spray of started with rabies or something, epidemics. All these dogs are going to suffer because of the photo of the owners. So again, please spay neuter your pets, and do you know where your pets are?